Good evening, everybody. It is Tuesday evening again. Hope wherever you are, the weather is nice. Maybe it's a bit cold, maybe it's warm, as long as the weather is nice wherever you are and you're having a good time. Thank you for tuning in tonight. We are back for another session here at Horde of Tales for the Convergence Manifesto. We have most of our crew here tonight. Unfortunately, Austin could not make it, but we're going to take good care of Delphine, no matter how you want to spell his name. And gonna see what's going to happen tonight.
No, that's the reason why Austin left. He just couldn't take it.
Yeah.
They were like, this is too much.
No,
He's
he's,
cur-
off making a longer list.
He's working on that D100 table of possible misspellings for Daithun. So there's just gonna be a random like Craig in there or something completely different.
Or maybe that's a thing to do for the chat, to just make a list of as most possible misspellings of Dyphon's name. And that will be Austin's Christmas present.
How are you feeling, my fellow players? How's it going?
It's going.
It's going.
Yeah.
Winter mood is kicking in.
I'm gonna see my family for Thanksgiving, so I'm very happy. Yay!
Yeah! Woo!
Ah, yeah, true. You celebrated, or?
Yes. Very, 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 very much.
I'm actually celebrating it this year because I have some American friends over here and they wanted to celebrate it. So we're having a dinner together.
Yay!
Ah, nice. Beautiful.
I'm excited.
Nice. Cool. Yeah, it's we're getting into the season again, and why not have another reason to also eat delicious things and enjoy time with your family?
Always an excuse to eat delicious food.
Indeed.
Is there even an excuse needed?
That's what I meant. There's always a good excuse.
To think about the things you're thankful for, to consider the happiness and overcoming whatever challenges happen in the year, to realize that you are indeed surrounded by good things, for even if it's just food, but normally it's accompanied with people you care about very much. So definitely things to celebrate.
But isn't this normally that what you're doing on Christmas?
It's a Thanksgiving thing as well, but especially Thanksgiving.
And
there's just no presents.
I'm tonight thankful to be here with you and to have the next session of our game. So, but before we dive into that, just our default announcements for tonight. You're here on Horde of Tales. You probably did not come here by accident, and if you did, well, thank you that you're still hanging around.
What am I doing here?
We're a stream for TTRPGs, and tonight we're playing D&D 5th edition. To be specific, we play maybe the final session of the adventure Fired and Forgotten, which is the first chapter in the Convergence Manifesto adventure series, which is written by Across Eberron. If you like what you're seeing here and you want to bring your party through this adventure, go over to acrosseberron.com, where you find all information about these adventures. The virtual tabletop that we're using is Astral VTT. Any music that you hear on the channel is, for these sessions, Dark Fantasy Studios. And in case I bring these fantastic people into combat and we pull out a battle map, it's most likely created in Dungeon Draft, which is a very nice tool to create your maps in.
If I may also help with the explanations, dear audience, anyone who joins us, if you happen to see a luxuriously plump orange cat grace the screen of our DM, when that cat comes up, when that cat comes up, if you have enough chat points, you can redeem them for something called Cat's Vantage. And what Cat's Vantage does is they who spent the points gets to decide who gets advantage on their next roll. It could be a player, it could be the DM. It makes for a dramatic use of your points. Maybe you can affect a ripple in the story to see how that goes. But you have to do it only when said beautiful cat graces the DM screen. A tail is okay as well.
Can't miss him. And for an example,
we already hear him.
Exactly. You hear there's already, he's approaching. Last session, we had a good use of it. It actually allowed Austin to roll for Dythun with advantage in Dythun's
was
one-on-one with the Silver Kiss. So if you see the cat and you have the point, give one of these fantastic people cat vantage, or give me cat vantage if you want to be a little bit of a...
It's,
Yeah. All right, then. Well, then, let's do a little quick intro, and then we're just going to dive right into Convergence Manifesto. Here we are again, and we have going to
It's again.
we are going to once again return to Eberron, to Sharn, the cog specifically, because when last we left our young and new adventurers in the depth of Sharn, they had just completed some bureaucratic details to make sure that the forge that they needed to complete an item for their job giver, employer, guild handler Lara, that forge would go into the capable hands of Tresca Teasbeak, the charming gnome who had been working for Hallis Drummond, who in turn could not use his forge because the Warforged workers were on strike. And it was time that a more capable leader and forge master took over these forges. Our adventurers helped Tresca and Stoke, the leader of the Warforged workers, to gain control of the forge through some connections in House Cannith, and even met Merrix the Cannith, kind of the boss in the enclave of House Cannith. There were some conversations, very friendly conversations, though there was still some distrust among some of the characters for this very friendly face. But in the end, fun was had and celebrations were celebrated in the Troll's Nose once the paperwork was done, Tresca and Stoke being happy that they now owned their own forge, and Dythun took a chance and fought in the squared circle of the Troll's Nose Tavern. Had a good fight with the reigning champion Silver Kiss, but Dythun did win eventually. The party celebrated the rest of the evening, enjoyed a night in the luxurious rooms of the Canis Enclave, and then made their way to Drummond Independent. Well, for now it's still called Drummond Independent, but it's up for a rename, where they arrived and saw that large parts of the forge were destroyed, and Tresca and Stoke were already busy starting to make fixes to the various forges. They did inform our adventurers that with the damages to the forges, they could still try to infuse the burning idol with the energies of Fernia, the plane of fire on Eberron. But there might be some risks, since some of the magics binding the geomantic energies would become unstable, and maybe creatures or entities from Fernia would try to seep through into our world. Strong and talented as our adventurers are, they offered to keep an eye on the back of Stoke and Tresca while they worked, and that's where we left off last session, when our characters got ready to protect the back of the Forge Masters. Rayn, Rebus, Delphine, and Dythun, you are in the center of the forge. And I'm actually, to visualize it a little bit, I'm going to pull up a map real quick to give you a bit of an impression of what's going on here. So, up. And then we're going to put some characters on there.
What's going on?
Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Hup. Just gonna place you a little bit around. Hup. 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 All right. So. To describe the forge a bit to you, Drummond's forge is, though it is multiple forges, there are a few larger ones, a few smaller ones, but the main forge is a big structure at the end of the room. It is a massive pit of fire and coals and tools laid out around it, all on top of what almost looks like a kind of stone magic circle that's embedded into the ground. And that circle is giving off a very dim orange glow. There are damages to it. Someone took a sledgehammer and a lot of force to this forge, so some of the stonework and parts of the forge are damaged, and you see them scattered around the forge. But this large forge is not the only forge in the room. There are other smaller forges scattered through the room, and you would assume that probably whatever kind of forge work Drummond was fabricating here, that the most important and large pieces were created in this large forge, while the smaller forges in other parts of the room were probably for the smaller components that they worked on. Stoke and Tresca are at the main forge currently, and Tresca has her tools laid out, a series of hammers and chisels, and placing into the forge, she's placing this small stone statue that you've seen before. This is the burning idol that she has been working on. This seated figure with a gem on top of its head. And she carefully places it into the hot embers and coals of the large forge. And as you notice, the moment she puts it in there, the idol begins to glow very faintly with the same orange glow. The temperature in here also starts increasing, and for those of you who are capable of sweating, you do feel that there is slowly a little bit of sweat coming on your foreheads. It's a little bit warmer than in other parts of the cogs. While Tresca is making these preparations, you see that Stoke is moving over to the other end of the forge and is starting to pull down levers, move around cogs and wrenches to probably start bringing up the heat in the forge. And you can hear him say, while he's doing that, he speaks with his loud voice and he says, Tresca and I will work on getting the magic imbued into the idol. But the moment this process starts picking up, there might be all kinds of strange creatures coming through. Keep an eye out. What would you like to do?
Would you mind pointing out the weakest point that we might have to defend the hardest?
Stoke points over past you and he points at the different forges that are in the room. Like, there's one smaller one right behind you, and then further to the left of the room and to the right end of the room, there are also forges. And Stoke says, I assume if anything that likes the heat of Fernia is coming out into our world, it will come out as close as possible to the hot places in this room.
So it seems like it will be better if we are splitting up.
I'm a blacksmith, not a tactician. I leave that up to you.
If I may suggest a strategy of some sort. Miss Rayn, you are a ranged attacker, am I right?
I am comfortable doing that, so long as perhaps we stay away from, and Rain points at crates nearby, highly flammable things we should not stand near, for example. Regardless of whether you are forward or not. Strikes me wise.
Sounds logical.
So Rain is just going to like strut over to a side and gonna move herself like here-ish, so she kinda has a bit of a line, hopefully to the middle left side top, and I guess you can move a bit for the bottommost one.
All right.
I will turn towards Delphine and ask her to... Miss Delphine, would you kindly choose a forge of your liking?
They kind of look all the same, but I will go over there and I'm going to the furthest one.
All right.
Is this okay for you?
I look at Delphine and we nod, and certainly. Delphine, do you think your training would work better next to Stoke and Tresca to protect them, or would you like more area of movement?
I think it would be wise to have someone nearby the two, in case anything tries to come out of the forge that they're working on. And we need them to finish the idol, so I'll keep an eye on them.
I'll go next to the last forge then.
All right. So you spread out around the room, keeping an eye on the forges, and you all notice as you get closer to the forges, there's a bit of a waft of warmth coming off of them. And you see glowing embers in them. You can still smell the coal and the smell of steel that has been worked here. Stoke looks across the room again, checks with everyone, and then you see him turn a large wheel at the side of the forge, and sparks fly out of the main forge as the temperature rises. Flames lash out in it, and Tresca pulls down these working goggles that she had on her forehead, like these big goggles in front of her face, and she says, "All right then." Spins a tool in her hand. "Let's get to work." And she starts working on the idol. And you see, especially because Tresca is a bit smaller, you can easily look over her and into the forge that she's working the idol in. And you see that whatever kind of fine tools she has in her hand, she uses to carve lines and whirling patterns into the idol, as if this solid figure has become softer, moldable. And as she does so, you can also see flowing over her lower arm and her hands these strands of magical energy that come from Tresca and flow into the idol. For those of you who've been around any kind of larger city in the continent before, or who have ever been around anyone working in magical professions, you would see that Tresca is using magical techniques that are related to the so-called mage rites, which are kind of your daily mages that you find around the world, usually used for smaller enchantments, but she's currently working some of that magic into it. Rebus.
But does it remind Rebus of their time with Moira?
With Moira. Very similar. Moira also knew some of these minor magics, and you saw her work them. So yeah, it would certainly remind Rebus of the time with Moira. Though you don't recall Moira moving her fingers so elegantly. Moira was more of a large movements, strong movements kind of mage right.
I look down at the plates on my chest and arms that have been replaced, seeing the lack of elegance but replaced with an excellent practicality, and it makes sense.
Right.
As the temperature continues rising, Rayn is just kind of not boredly, but just kind of like very calmly just waiting, and she's constantly using shape water to like kind of pull out the heavier beads of sweat on her forehead especially, but she's kind of keeping the water dancing around her hand and arm as if she's like waiting for something to maybe use it with.
Gotcha. All right. And the temperature does indeed slowly rise, and as it does, could I get a round of perception checks from everyone?
Oh, there you are. Total 11 for Rayn.
Rayn, I saw for Rebus an 8 coming up.
10.
10. All right.
Be hot, yo.
It is indeed warm, and maybe it's the rising temperature that's also distracting for most of you, as you also keep an eye out on everything that's happening around you, any kind of danger that might be appearing, and also maybe focusing on the wrong places, like paying a bit too much attention to the crack of a bit of coal that Stoke just threw into one of the forges, a waft of heat coming into your faces. And it is so then that all of you are taken not fully by surprise, not by surprises in the rule sense of being taken by surprise, but it takes you by surprise that one of the forges, actually the one that Rebus is closest to, within the burning coals and the sparks coming off of the embers, you see a creature takes shape. And this strange winged creature climbs its way out of the embers, and its skin itself looks as if it's covered by magma and coal. As it climbs out of it, small wings unfurling on its back that trail off into smoke and flames as it just rises out of the fire, looks around, and has this cocky, playful smile on his sharp face.
Hello.
Does any one of you speak Primordial or Ignan specifically? Rayn speaks Primordial.
Do I?
Rayn speaks
No,
Primordial.
Rebus, you do not. No. Rayn, you speak Primordial?
And I'll just say it in primordial. Hello, or whatever primordial sounds like in this world.
The creature turns towards you, and with a crackling sound in the back of its throat, it replies in Primordial, "So warm, so nice. It all must burn. Burn, 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 burn!" And it just lashes out of the flames, and I need all of you at this point to roll initiative, please.
Oh, boy.
Ah.
What is my initiative?
Oh no, Rayn!
I'm also... Oh, I'm quickly gonna roll initiative for Dythun as well.
Yeah. Just keep my hand up.
Dythun has an 18. That's very nice. All right. Rayn, you got a 3.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's okay. I get to see how people move, and then I know not to like throw AoE things.
True. Rebus, what do
welcome.
you got?
22.
30? What? 22.
22.
Oh, I thought you said 32 and was like, how?
Well, I was like, that can't be right.
I was like, woo,
I am
okay.
good, but not that good.
Delphine, what did you get?
A 22.
Ooh, who of you has the higher dexterity?
I have
What?
+4 dexterity.
Then it is the
I have +2.
Delphine goes first. All right. Well, that means with this strange fiery creature appearing on the battlefield, we are at top of the round, and top of the round is Delphine. Delphine, what would you like to do?
Okay, I don't really like to leave my place.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's wise to just shoot at a fire creature, but I'm taking my pistol and I shoot at it.
You take out your pistol and you shoot at the fire creature. Give me an
Yes.
attack roll.
Yes.
At least it's not a flamethrower. It's an actual like metal bullet. So maybe.
I don't know. Delphine is not the wisest person on this realm, so
It
I
would be
guess so.
hilarious if you saw her like an alien just with a flamethrower like backpack and trying to kill the imp with fire. Why isn't it working?
Whoa! This is actually not bad. 22 to attack.
Yeah, that hits, yeah.
Yes.
There's a theme going on with this number tonight.
Yes. That's the number for tonight. Okay, wait. Oh, yeah, that are just 6 points.
6
of
points?
piercing them. Yeah.
You take out your gun. The bullet flies across the room and it hits the creature right in the side of its face. And where the bullet impacts, you just see that part of the jaw comes off and it dissolves into bits of coal and embers that just fall to the ground. And you see the creature lets out a sound as you hit it for 6 points of
Piercing damage.
piercing damage.
Not magical.
A non-magical 6 points. All right. Is there anything else you would like to do on your turn?
No. Nope. It's okay.
All right. That brings us up to Rebus.
Oh wait, just one talking action. Like, come on, shut up! I don't like your voice.
All right, Rebus.
I will advance to the enemy and get within combat range
Mm-hmm.
and say, withdraw peacefully or face the consequences. And I will actually not walk right up to combat range, just like so 10 feet away instead of 5 feet away,
Mm-hmm.
and ready my glaive, but not do more right now. Just,
All right. Yep. So you just get a little bit outside of melee range, have your glaive ready, and just make it clear that your intent is not to immediately attack. Understood. All right. The creature looks at you, and it sees, like, the creature itself has a bit of a glow come.
Before you continue, I'd like to say I would obviously hold an attack to release if I am attacked.
Gotcha.
As a
Gotcha.
defensive.
Thank you for clarifying. It looks at you and it sees, like, it has a bit of a glow coming from itself, and it sees a bit of the glow reflected in the steel and iron of your body, and you just see it look like at you. Anything else on your turn, Rebus?
Let me make sure. No, I think I'm
Nope. That's it. All right. That brings us to Dythun. Dythun looks over from his protective position from Tresca and Stoke, and he sees the creature emerge from it, and he just quickly looks over his shoulder at the at Stoke and Tresca and says, "Huh, I think we have a first visitor." And he just also gets his longsword ready and takes a protective position of the blacksmith who are working, and that's his turn. Which brings us to the little visitor who is looking at Rebus and sees its own light reflected in Rebus' plating and body. And then just, in this language you don't understand, Rebus, you hear it say in this gargly voice, going like, and from the back of its throat, you see that heat is coming out of its mouth. And you were holding your action for if it attacks you, right? If you want to, you can take that action now if you want to smack it.
I will thrust with my glaive, which I believe has 10 feet reach.
That does indeed have a reach of 10 feet.
Let's go. 16 to hit.
16 does hit. Roll for damage.
I am a bit confused since I'm rolling.
So since I'm rolling with the digital dice, the damage is this two-handed already, or do I have to roll?
I think it
is
says on your.
different?
I think it says on your character sheet that you have a two-handed and a one-handed entry. Just double checking.
Like, I know I can use it one-handed or two-handed. I just don't know if this damage portrayed here is the two-handed or one-handed, because there's just the one.
Since I see it's a 1d10 damage, then that's the two-handed damage. If it's the one-handed,
Yeah,
it's a
okay.
1d8.
It makes sense. You wouldn't usually use it with one hand, so
Yeah.
by default. Okay.
And it actually is two-handed. You have to use it two-handed. You can't use it one-handed.
Yep, that's what I gathered. Anyway, 5 points of damage.
5 points of slashing damage, I think. All right. You slash into the creature, but even though you hit, the moment your weapon impacts, it unleashes a burst of fire from its mouth. And Rebus, I need you to make a dexterity saving throw, please.
With advantage, because I am dexterous. um, 20, not natural.
20, nice. You can lean out of most of the heat, but there's a bit of heat still brushing you, and you can actually feel your plating getting warmer as this burst of heat comes from the mouth of the creature. You still take half damage from it, and half damage would be 5 points of fire damage for you. And that creature can still, on its turn...
I pat out the fire that my wooden parts might have caught.
Gotcha. And the creature is going to... move up to here. And that's its turn, and that brings us to Rayn.
Do I get an attack of opportunity?
If you held an action, you use your reaction to use that
is the
action.
reaction.
So, yeah. Rayn.
Rayn all this time has been like using control water to whip off that sweat, and then she's literally juggling the water droplets in her hands. She's just going to turn those water droplets, and they're going to coalesce into this sharp icicle, and she's going to send it at the imp. Make an attack roll.
Gotcha.
What's my modifier? It's not bad. That is a total of 21 to hit.
Oof, yeah, that hits. You're rolling well tonight.
There's some good rolls.
And that is a D10. I get to use these very often. That's very nice. There you are. And that is Ooh, ah, okay. That completely went flying, and I don't know where it is now. Sorry. Okay, other dice.
Lost die.
Emergency.
That is 8 piercing damage.
Oof.
And then as the shard goes into the imp, it's going to explode. Oh. Thank you, husband. He found it in my clothes, the dice. And as the icicle explodes, the imp must make a dexterity saving throw.
A dexterity saving throw coming right up.
And any creature within 5 feet, which is thankfully no one. None of
No
Alex,
one.
at least.
Ooh, that is a total of 8. I think that's a failure.
And he's going to take 2d6 of cold damage.
Ice knife.
that's-
Mm-hmm.
Let's go.
That is a total of 6 cold damage.
You fling the ice knife into the creature, and it goes into one of its wings. As the wing is just, you see this clash of ice and heat of the creature causing the smoke to erupt around it. You hear a scream go like, ah! And then it shatters. And with these tiny sparks of ice as it shatters, they all fly into the creature. Cuts of little diamonds of ice all over it and wisps of smoke as it just screams as it falls down into the ground. And as it does, you see that whatever heat is in its core starts pulsing wildly and more intense. And then the heat just erupts. No one is currently within 5 feet of it. So all of you just witness this explosion of heat and coal and hear a dying scream from this creature as it is destroyed by Rayn's magic.
Not big a fan of high heat. Cool off, will you?
Anything else on your turn, Rayn?
Flip my hair.
Gotcha.
I will stay where I am. That's my turn.
All right. Top of the round, another one of the forges flares. As you hear from behind you at the main forge, you hear Tresca has now finished whatever kind of fine engraving she has to do, and she's currently banging the idol with a hammer. But the hammer itself is glowing red like fire, and with every strike, you see the idol also glowing brighter. As now coming from the forge itself, tendrils of magical energy reach into the idol, as it also starts hovering a little bit over the forge as Tresca continues. Stoke is managing the temperature in the forge. He's using all these tools and gadgets to keep the forge on the right temperature, and he looks over to you as he sees the imp explode, and he's about to say something, but then he notices another visitor coming into the fray. Because we're not done yet. In the forge next to Delphine, another one of these winged creatures appears with the same annoying cackling voice that Delphine just pointed out she didn't like. And I'm going to quickly roll initiative for it. That is there. And that brings us to the top of the round. Delphine, you see that creature coming out of the forge? What do?
Seeing that behind me, or I would say I better feel it behind me since it's probably pretty warm.
Mm-hmm.
So rolling my eyes, turning towards it, and taking out my rapier. Okay, so you will be the next one. And then I will slash at it.
Slash away.
A 9?
That does not hit, unfortunately, as you bravely slash at it and just goes out of the way with a bit of a cackle, like. Anything else you would like to do?
Oh man.
You just hear her cursing like really horrible words. That's the end of my turn.
I love the Skeletor. Yeah. Wonderful, Marcus.
Now you know what I do in my free time. Rebus, it's your turn.
I am a bit far away, and these imps still haven't posed too much of a threat. So I will repeat my warning: withdraw peacefully or face the consequences. And ready on one of my hands a light hammer that I can throw if it attempts to attack Delphine or come any closer.
So you hold your action again. If it attacks Delphine, you're gonna throw your light hammer. All right.
Or it moves like towards me.
It has to be one or the other. You can have like either it attacks or it comes closer to you.
If it attacks Delphine, then.
Gotcha.
And
All
I
right.
will actually move a bit over here, so I have a better, maybe there, so I have a better line of sight. So Delphine is not in the middle of, you know.
Yep. All right. Anything else on your turn?
No, that's it.
All right. Dythun is still taking guard at Stoke and Tresca, and he's has his weapon ready in case anything happens over there. But so far, he sees that you have everything under control, and he's going to give his turn then to the second creature that appeared. And that is going to... It's just going to fly a little bit up here. And then also unleash a fiery breath at Delphine. But that means, Rebus, if you would like to, you could use a reaction to fling that hammer.
Oh, certainly. 18 to hit.
That does hit.
5 points of damage.
5 points of damage to the fiery creature. Got it. Well, the fiery creature, the hammer flings against it, dunk into its side. As it does, and then unleashes the fiery breath at Delphine. Delphine, could you give me a dexterity saving throw, please?
Okay, yeah, sure.
Famous last words. I'm dexterous.
No, 19, that's good.
That does indeed succeed, and you can dodge, you can avoid most of the damage, dealing you just 3 points of fire damage. As it just rolls out this breath of fire at you. It moved, it attacked, that's its turn. That brings us to our favorite Triton in this fight, Rayn.
Do I have a line of sight on the imp?
Let me double check. There's a little bit of... You do have a line of sight, but the imp would get a bit of cover.
Irrelevant.
Okay?
I counted out the squares. I have enough. Rayn's sweat is continuing to drain down her face, and at this point, Rayn is just going to like push it up into frost and send it towards the imp. I would like the imp to make a Constitution saving throw, please, for frostbite.
Well, if you ask so nicely, I'm going to make a Constitution saving throw for the imp. That is a total of 14.
He succeeds.
It
Nothing
succeeds.
happens.
You wanted to frostbite him, but he's just too hot to be frostbitten, and shakes it off.
Since I still have that line of sight on the imp, I will stay with where I am, and I say, Delphine, darling, take care. And that's my turn.
That's your turn. You you hear Rayn shouting through the room as the imp shakes off a magical effect, and you can now hear from the main forge the banging of hammers. Stoke has actually moved from his position of moving levers and twisting gears over to get a little bit closer to Tresca, and he is now aiding her in putting on the final touches on the burning idol. The idol itself is now glowing brightly, like the inside of it must be of an enormous temperature. It almost looks like a piece of iron that you just took from the forge with its glow, and there is a humming sound coming from it. Tresca is holding the idol and is putting on some more engravings, while you see Stoke bangs with a hammer against it. And with every bang, you see that the glow seems to go further from the outside into the inside of the idol, as if his hammer is forcing the heat into the center of this object. And as that's happening, you do notice that suddenly the temperature in the room increases vastly. It's as if a heat wave comes crushing into this building. I need all of you to make a Constitution saving throw.
Woo, natural 20.
Natural
Whoa.
For a total of 24.
All right.
Total
Rayn.
of 11 for Rayn.
11 for Rayn. Delphine.
10.
10. And I rolled a 1 for Dythun. That's for a total of 4. As the heat increases, all of you who rolled
Where's your
lower...
cat when we need it?
Yeah.
Everyone who rolled lower than... rolled a 13 or lower than a 13 takes 10 points of fire damage.
Ow.
As you just feel this heat sinking into you. You actually see Tresca like fumbles and trembles at her position as she takes the heat, and Stoke helps her up, and you hear him shout like, "We got this, we're almost there." And then he looks at all of you just to glance to see how everyone is doing.
Rayn looks bad.
Delphine doesn't look good.
And as he looks over and you look at each other how you're looking, you see the coals and embers of the forge that Rebus is closest to starts bubbling. From underneath, a bubbling magma-like thing crawls and raises itself up. A creature of pure elemental fire slowly ascends. And
Fine.
climb out of there. Rayn, since you speak primordial, you would understand that under the bubbling of the magma and lava, and whoever wants to correct me about the difference between magma and lava can do so later, but it bubbles out there, and you can hear like, "Hate the flame spread."
Ah, single-minded of you.
Yeah. Quickly gonna roll initiative for it. Okay. And as it climbs out, you see that the shape itself coalesces into this snake made out of lava and magma and flames itself. And that brings us to the top of the round. And that brings us to Delphine.
Okay, Delphine, you can see her clothes are burned at some parts from before her attack. She doesn't look good, as if you would have put her into a toaster from the heat. And oh gosh, she is so pissed off. Yeah, how far away I'm from that imp?
10 feet.
About 10 feet. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm doing. No, I'm using the pistol again and shooting at it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Sounds like a good plan.
At the imp.
At the imp. Yeah.
Yeah. Come, give me something good. What is this? This is 18.
That does hit.
Math. Plus, I will put, since the wood situation is so unnerving, I'm putting a divine smite on top of it.
Can you put divine smites on ranged attacks?
Oh fuck, melee weapon.
Yeah.
Fuck. Yeah, okay. That's...
If you want to, you could say instead
okay.
of. Okay.
But wait, if I would move to 5 feet, will that make a melee attack?
If you get 5 feet closer, then you can make a melee attack here. So.
Okay, yeah, I'm doing this.
Okay. Move yourself 5 feet closer, and then I allow you to make a melee attack, and if you want to, you can smite it. But if you, just to be clear, you would make a melee attack with your rapier, not a melee attack with your...
Yeah, it's okay, it's okay, okay. No.
What did you roll?
A 1.
Unfortunately, as you move closer, you swing your rapier, and it's just too elusive. It bobs out of the way, and just looks at you with this wide mouth open, almost as if it's like it's trying to taunt you a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else on your turn?
Nope.
All right.
I should heal you.
Rebus, you are suddenly see this snake of lava that emerged behind you, that is now looming over you. What would you like to do?
Right. Well, I have warned you. So time to face the consequences now. And I will essentially get ready to enter intense combat, and almost as an instinct, suddenly gush of steam escapes from this thin opening that goes across all of my body. As the plates suddenly start to shift and make an opening for an extra set of armor to go over it and kind of like build up. I get a bit taller than I already am, like a foot taller. All of these different steel plates, some new, some patched up, kind of like the other ones, start to go across my body, across my arms, reinforcing the legs, reinforcing the feet, kind of gauntlet over the arms, and the visor on my head gets slightly smaller in like a triangular shape, being protected by extra metallic plates. And my usually kind of cute glitchy eyes suddenly glitch out, and the whole visor turns bright red. And I say, resistance is futile, and I will rage!
You will rage. Nice. All right. So you see all this extra armor encasing Rebus at this point, and they're in rage mode. And while Rebus is raging, what would they like to do?
I will attack the fire elemental.
Swing away.
Just a second while I read things, because, I don't want to do anything wrong.
We're all here learning. We're all playing new characters.
Exactly. You had your awesome transformation sequence. You can take a bit to check something up.
Yes. I'm sorry. It kind of takes away the energy. Almost there. Just give me a second. I would like... let's just go for it. I will attack the fire elemental.
Swing away.
You have been warned. 26 to hit.
26 to hit. That does hit.
No, sorry, 24. 24.
Yeah,
But
it still hits. Still hits.
Uh, 12 this time to points of damage. Slashing damage.
You, with all your armor unfurled and your glaive in hand, you take this big swing at it, but you notice, like, even with the power put behind you through your combat mode that you engage, your pistons moving faster, the extra pressure, you notice what kind of resilience this creature has to the attack. Your glaive digs in, and you see sparks of or parts of lava just drooping out of it, like some kind of thick ichor out of a creature. And you you damage the creature, but you also, some of the lava drips on you as you attack, and you take 4 points of fire damage. But you see now, this fire snake leans backward as you duck your glaive. And is there anything else you would like to do on your turn?
Well,
I have 2 weapon fighting, but I only get 1 attack per action, so I
Yeah.
don't think that counts. No, I think I am not quite. I don't know if I am if Rebus is in combat range with the snake. I don't know if it's 5 feet or 10 feet.
5. It's 5 feet. It's right next to you.
So I wouldn't be in combat range.
You are
I
in
mean,
melee
like,
range.
yes, with my glaive, but not with. Sorry.
You even, like, with your glaive, you have a reach of 10 feet, and you're within 5 feet, so you are within melee range with your glaive, and you don't know what the reach of the creature is, too.
Yeah, because I wanted to move, but I didn't know. Okay.
You can always move and find out how far this creature can hit you.
Except, hit points. Yeah, but why not? Yeah, I'll move away and go close to Delphine.
All right.
Like over here. Maybe around and. Okay, let's see. Where was I? Around here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I want to flank so she has a better chance. So, but.
All right. Perfect. You
Does
pull
that
out.
make sense?
Yep.
Is that enough? I don't know if I can walk that much. I think so. 1, 2.
You have a walking speed of 30 feet, which means you could get 6 feet. So, what do I say? You have 6 squares, yeah.
Yep. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Yeah.
Alright.
That works. I'll be there.
You pull your glaive out, you move into a flanking position, and, yeah. That's your turn?
Ready for the next.
Gotcha. You put yourself into a bit of a better position, and Dythun now looks over his shoulder at Tresca and Stoke, who seem to be wrapping up, and he looks at the big elemental snake creature, and he's just like, yeah, I know where I'm needed. And with his longsword drawn, he is going to move over to it. And he's going to swing his longsword at the creature, which is a total of 15, and that does hit. And he's swinging this bad boy two-handed, so that is 4 points of damage as he digs his sword in there, but the heat also hits him, so he also takes 2 points of fire damage, and Dythun is looking rough at this point. The fiery snake also just coils backward and lets out this blubbering sound as it's being coiled back. And that's Dythun's turn, and it brings us to the snake of elemental fire. As it is actually going to worm its way over here. As it seems to be pulled to whatever fire elemental adapted magics Tresca is working, and the forge is now also surrounded by this red glow of magic, and this fire elemental is just snaking its way there to get over there, and is one more over here. And it's going to attack Tresca.
Does Dythun get an attack of opportunity?
Actually, that's a good point. He's going to take his reaction to take an opportunity attack. And he's going... Dythun is going to make an attack, which does hit.
Yes.
Oof, that's big damage. That actually cuts out quite a part of the mass of the fire elemental. As it moves by, Dythun swings his longsword down and he cuts off parts of the tail of the fire elemental, which now just are left behind as it's dragging itself forward with whatever elemental force is left in it, but it is still up and it's going to try and attack Tresca. That does hit. That is a 19. That certainly hits Tresca. And that...
We're great at our job, guys.
5 points. You see, as Tresca is currently, she holds up now the burning idol as she gets it out of the flame, and she looks over and she sees this creature lashing out at her with a tendril of lava, and you just hear Tresca go, "Oh!" as she's being slammed in the face by the heated tendril of lava. She drops the idol, but Stoke catches it in the last moment, catches the thing, and Tresca leans against the edge of the forge. She's still up, she's still breathing, but she has this burn over her face as she's just already raises a hand in front of her face. That ends that fire turn, and we still have we still have one of those little creatures left, which is down there. Rebus, you moved over there, and the impish creature is going to try and attack you, Rebus. It's going to it's going to swing its fiery claws at you. Yeah, that's not hitting. That's a 10. That certainly didn't hit. And that ends its turn and brings us to Rayn.
Like last time, we're going to. Rayn is looking pretty rough. Her knees are a bit bent, and this otherwise poised and elegant look that she's been carrying all this time. She looks like the wind knocked out of her, and her eyes are a bit widened at how uncomfortable the situation is. But she's just going to now sloppily just wipe her forehead off and turn that into another ice knife. Let's roll.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. Ooh, 18 plus 5.
Yeah, that hits.
And it's gonna be a 1d10. Where are my 10s? There you are. Ooh, that's going to be 2 piercing damage.
Uh-huh.
And it's going to explode within its own diameter. So this shouldn't hit anyone else because this is a beefy boy.
And it has to make a dexterity saving throw, right?
Yes, please.
The tension.
That's a total of 11.
Fails.
Fails.
My DC is 13.
Oh yes!
So it's going to take 2d6 of more icy, explodey goodness. Yes, that's an 11.
How do you want to do this?
Whoa! Yes!
It's going to kind
Thank
of
goodness.
send that icicle, and as it explodes, Rayn is going to take her other hand and smash her hands together, causing the icicle to just explode into like icicles. Hopefully, bringing down some cooling ice mist that's refreshing in this very hot room.
The icicle that flew into the creature bursts, tears it apart, and the merging of ice and the heat of the creature creates this damp mist that now goes out from where this creature once stood. And now the only proof of its existence are these little spots of heat and burn marks on the ground, and the wound on Tresca's face that is now caressed by the cooler damp that you created with with your attack. And the sizzling sounds of the elemental die out as you stand there in the cold mist.
And without any sort of poise or calmness in her voice, Rayn is just gonna be like, "Tresca, are you all right?"
You see really quickly the gnome just do this.
And she's going to just nod, like with a more worried look on her face, and turn her attention across the room. And hopefully, if she needs to do something will happen.
Gotcha. All right. Top of the round, Delphine, what are you up to?
I try again. I'm risking this. I'm not healing myself.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be crazy. Because
Also, Rebus is flanking. I don't know if that does anything.
No flanking.
definitely
here.
not.
I don't
Optional roll.
remember. I am a 3.5 person. I'm sorry. Just, you know.
17?
With your rapier?
Yeah.
That hits.
Thankfully. Okay, I smited.
You smite it as well? All right.
Smite it to hell.
Roll us
Made of fire.
Roll us some damage, Paladin.
Okay, well, wait. That are 15 points of damage. 8 of those are radiant.
How do you want to do this?
I just want to be beheaded. Simple
Just-
and clean.
With your rapier, just sing,
Yes.
cut off the head of the creature. It was mocking you, was laughing at you for your first attempt of trying to hit it. But while it's laughing, it didn't notice how quickly you swing the rapier at it again. And sick! Off goes the head of the creature. But as it crumbles apart, the inner of its core starts glowing brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter, and then explodes. I need both Rebus and Delphine to make a dexterity saving throw, please.
13 for Rebus.
18
Said
for
I'm
Rebus.
not wise.
13 for Rebus.
What did you roll, Delphine?
9.
9.
Girl, let me send you some fresh dice.
Hot, steam, and fire roll over both of you. Delphine, you take 10 points of fire damage. And Rebus, you take 5 points of fire damage.
I'm on the floor.
Shit.
But
That heat is too much.
you see Delphine drops to the floor. But there is also, at that point, with the decapitation of this impish fiery creature, you also see that Tresca takes over with a bit shaking hands. She takes over the burning idol that Stoke saved from falling back into the forge. Shaking hands, she looks at it and just says, It's done. And the fires in the forges lower themselves, cool off a bit. The temperature drops further. And we are at this point out of initiative and out of combat.
Rayn.
Well,
What
you
a
say
sprint.
that, but while Rayn starts sprinting towards Delphine, Rebus takes their glaive, and it looks like they are about to keep hitting. They swing it to the ground where the imp just was, then scrape it across the floor, then turn to Delphine and bring it down. And suddenly there's a glitching motion to them with the blade about an inch from Delphine's face.
Like
And
Rayn.
they pull back, recover, the faceplate opens, the red light turns off, the armor starts to recoil, and after the transformation has gone back to normal,
I apologize. I do not know what that was.
in a
Delphine,
sort of
are you okay?
in a sort of a shouty, a panicked, like a shrieky voice is like, "What on earth was that? There's no need for that!" And I want to try to, Rayn is trying to stabilize Delphine.
Give me a medicine check. Rebus,
The Harches.
Rebus, you stagger back as your plating folds back, and the normal lighting in your face comes up again, and you see Delphine lying there on the ground, Rayn working her medical skills. Rayn, what did you roll on the medicine check?
Nat 20.
Nat 20, perfect. You make sure you find the most, you stabilize her, you reanimate her when necessary. It's mostly burn marks and wounds on Delphine. Parts of her
I'm like using shape water to just kind of cool her burns down. I'm pulling her head onto my knees and I'm just kind of cradling her.
As you use the shape water as a bit of a relaxing way to calm her down as well. You see that parts of her fancy coat are heavily burned and damaged. Rebus, while you stagger back there, you see Daithun, who sheathed his sword again. Daithun walks up to you and he just carefully puts a hand on your shoulder. Is everything all right?
I apologize. I don't really know what happened. I am scanning Delphine's body to make sure she doesn't have any slash marks that might have been made by my glaive. And I look around to see everyone else is okay. I notice Tresca has burn marks. I make a note of it. We should take care of that as soon as possible. I see that Rayn is taking care of Delphine, and while my instinct was to help pick her up, I kind of pull back and decide to go with Delphine and just turn around and leave Rayn to work and not make the situation worse.
Gotcha. Rayn and Delphine, what are you doing? Delphine, you actually, for a moment, Delphine, the world went dark for you as you were taken off by this blast of heat. But as you open your eyes again, your head is cradled in Rayn's lap, and you feel cooling and soothing, a bit of water over the worst of your burns on you.
Okay. You're not going anywhere. You're not leaving me. You're okay. You're okay.
I hate heat. This is the worst.
Relieved at hearing her have the energy to complain, sort of, to gripe, because you have a lot of extra energy to do that. And it's just gonna like regain a bit of composure. That sly smile returns, and she's just going to kind of tenderly just shape water into like this cool mist around Delphine's face, like down the sides of her neck where it's best head.
Nice. You see, while you're recovering from the battle, you see that Tresca also checks how everyone is doing, and Stoke also checks up on all of you. Both of them thank you for having their back. Stoke actually says that he did not expect a creature of the size that you fought to crawl through at that point, and he seems to be impressed by your combat prowess and your capabilities. Tresca seems like she, at first, was still a bit shaking from the fact that she was hit by living magma. But after she catches her breath a bit, she looks back at the idol she made, and you see now that the idol itself, the outside of it, no longer glows. You only see where on this figure would be its heart, so to speak. You see deep in the inside, there's this orange glow that gently goes softer and brighter. And if you touch the surface of the idol, you feel that it is a very pleasant, warm temperature. Not too hot, not too cold, just very nice and pleasant to the touch. Stoke brings out a box, which he opens, and he helps Tresca put the idol into the box. And then they close it. Once it's in there, Tresca, and every one of you had a chance to catch your breath, Tresca looks at you and says, all right. That's the completed idol. All the proper enchantments are in place, and you can bring it to Guildhandle Lara. I do have a word of warning, however, about it. Please handle it with care. Don't drop the box. Don't shake it. And don't get it too close to sources of fire. So don't put it in this state into, I don't know, an oven or hold a torch against it. Most of the magics are contained, but it could still have some consequences if they're disturbed.
I think at this point, Rayn would have helped Delphine up to her feet, would have hobbled over to hear this discussion.
Yeah, as soon as you help me up, I'm taking your hand and I will give you. Since you're also not looking that well, I will give you lay on hands of 7.
Lovely.
Aw.
You see like a very non-snarky, genuine smile, and then it goes into that snark confident look. I look at
For a
Delphine's
small
smile
moment.
at her, and, like, and I turn to Tresca and Stoke. If it's exposed to more fire, is there any manner to control it?
If you give me a week, I could teach you the basic elemental spell bindings to control it, but I don't think you want to stay a week down here now, do you?
I'll talk in primordial to her. What if, like, with a more angry tone, is like, and what if I tell the fucking fire to fuck off? I say in primordial.
You see Tresca goes like, oh, oh, the indecency. And she then responds in primordial, which is very much the kind of way that you would speak a language if you only learned it from books, like if you never actually practiced it. She says in primordial to you, if you're lucky, it will fuck off then.
I look at my my party members, some in different states, worse states than others, like, I don't mind carrying this unless some of you are compelled to take it with you.
Before we hand it over, she looks at you, Rayn. Payment?
Payments. Trying to recall. I say this out loud. Trying to recall. Guildhandler Laura said that this was due in part for a completed glowing idol. Did she specifically say to Drummond? I guess he just wants her fancy glowy completed item.
Yeah, she doesn't need to know what happened to get the item, right? Wait, I don't think she would even care. Would she?
Just give her the letter. I want out here.
Rayn is gonna open up her robe and pull out the still sealed. I don't know if it's still slightly crinkled from the fight, but the letter with the seal of House Larather.
It's
Kundarak.
Kundarak, yeah, House
Kundarak.
Kundarak, the banking clan. And it's interesting to see because the envelope itself is indeed a bit crumbled and there's this slight singeing edges on it, but the seal on it is still in perfect condition. There is no damage to the seal. And she as you hand it over,
and I keep my other hand open as well.
And you see Tresca reaches out for the envelope, and as she grabs the envelope, Stoke hands over the box with the burning idol in it to you.
Is it
Then
the
he
kind of
looks.
box that I can put in a backpack or something? Or should I
You could.
unwield it?
No, you could put it in a backpack, yeah. But it would certainly, if you put it in a backpack or something, you could see the shape of the box. It would be clear that you're carrying something box-shaped, but you could put it in a backpack.
Just for carrying purposes,
Yeah.
put it in a backpack. But it will be obvious that there's a box on her back.
Yeah.
Mr. Stoke, do you know of any establishments where we could take Miss Tresca and Delphine and Rayn to get their features repaired?
Oh, you mean a bit of healing for them?
Yes, indeed. Excuse my odd choice of vocabulary.
Oh, no worries. It was perfectly clear. There's a healer, one of House Galanda franchise, further down the road. You could get a bit patched up there for a few coins.
I offer my hand to Miss Tresca, since Delphine is still, I guess, hanging from Rayn, as an invitation to, carry her.
To Tresca, you want to...
Yeah,
Tresca...
because she got it.
Oh, now I get you. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tresca looks at you. Oh, you mean this? I'll have someone check it out, but Stoke and I have some more work to do for now. Don't worry. That's awfully kind of you, but don't worry. I remember this one time in university when we were experimenting with volatile elemental synergies. Almost burned half my face. And well, there's worse things that can happen. It's awfully kind of you, but I get to myself sorted out.
Oh, so it is a common occurrence then? For
I
you?
wouldn't say common for most people, but for someone in my profession, a little bit more common.
Hope it's not too painful.
Stings.
And we will be going.
It stings a little bit, but I've had worse. But awfully kind sentiment. And I just have to say, before all of you leave, you were all in your own way awfully kind.
I appreciate it. I certainly hope we will. We wouldn't want to leave a bad impression. Mr. Stoke, good luck with your workers. And Miss Tresca, good luck taking care of the forge.
Stoke just walks up to you, Rebus, and he just gives you this big bear hug. He really pulls you in for that hug, and then he repeats the same thing with everyone else. He gives each of you this really tight hug, and then just says, "Thank you very much for what you did. I think Tresca and I here will make a better, healthier version of the forge that Drummond started. And if you're ever in the Cox again, and you need some good forge work, drop by for Tresca's Independent." And he smirks at Tresca. And Tresca, we have to think of a name. That's true. That's also on the order of business. I have it actually, and she pulls out a book from her satchel where she has an entire planning, an entire schedule of what needs to be done. We're gonna be busy.
Any chance, do you forge shields? As I kind of nod at Delphine's injuries.
She
Delphine.
already has this.
I do indeed have the shield for Delphine. Would you mind if I keep it here for now? And
When you're ready, just send it over to the Leander Enclave.
Oh, well, yes, I can certainly also combine that with... I have a visit planned with House Lyranda. There might be opportunities there, and it's good to know... But would it be of any benefit if I were to mention your name, Miss Delphine?
Not sure, but you can try.
Perfect. Well, this has been a ride. Thank you very much for everything. And send my regards to the Clifftop Adventurers Guild.
With pleasure. Now, Delphine, we should hurry and get you prepared as soon as possible.
We should endeavor to
Nice
keep
word.
her safe as well. And I kind of give a the kind of sour look at Rebus, very confused, but mostly disappointed.
I just my face glitches again, and I step aside instead of being close to Delphine and Rayn, and put my glaive on my back and just clasp my hands, and kind of uncomfortably walk out of the place.
Right. And as you leave behind former Drummond's Independent, trying to find a place to get everyone patched up and repaired, this is a good place to take a little break for now. So let's use this chance to take a break. We'll be back in about 10 minutes as we continue and see how these people get the Burning Idol back up and maybe wrap up their first job for the Clifftop Adventurers Guild. So see you here in 10 minutes.
We survived!
We are back for the second half. Everyone is still here. We're still around. We took a little bit longer to have a nice little conversation about TikTok and what a strange, fantastic place it is. Another strange, fantastic place to be is our channel, where you are right now. So thank you very much for still watching. And if you want more strange, fantastic places, why don't you give us a follow on our socials? There's down below. You can follow us on Twitter, so you always know when we go live. You can follow us here on Twitch, of course. And if you really feel like it, you can also subscribe. That would be awfully kind of you, to, as Tresca would say it. And you can also join our Discord, where you can also keep up with us. And if you, for example, are afterwards like, hey, wow, I have some questions about that session and I actually want to ask the players about it, come on our Discord, ask us questions, tell us stupid jokes. We like those kind of jokes. And yeah, all the good stuff fun. But for now, we are in this beautiful place here, and we just wrapped up a little bout of combat with elemental fire for our heroes, but they also finally got their burning idol. And we ended before the break with our adventurers leaving the forge and trying to find a place to get everyone repaired or fixed up for now.
Yeah.
I would say you could, like, especially wounds from burns and fire damage are pretty common in a place like the Cogs. So there are healers around that can help you treat those. I'd say you could find, if you really want to get, healed so that you also restore hit points now, you could find a place that charges you for really healing salves and stuff like that. That would be about 12 gold pieces per person. However, if it's more about that you just want to have your wounds checked out to get like bandages and just get everything clean and make sure nothing gets infected and stuff like that, and you don't want to immediately regain the hit points, you can get that kind of service is about 5 silver pieces per person. So just basically getting like the triage, the first aid, that can be done for about 5 silver pieces. If you actually want to get healed right now, that's a bit more expensive.
I took the cheaper version.
All right. Is anyone else who needs some healing, wants some healing?
I think Rayn, thanks to Delphine's offering of the layered hand earlier, Rayn is okay. Just her clothes probably look a little bit singed. Her hair probably needs some more treatments.
Yeah.
She looks scuffed, but she doesn't look damaged anymore.
Yeah, gotcha. All right.
So she just kind of sticks by Delphine and fusses.
Like a mom.
No, not like a mom, more possessively. Maybe like a mom, I don't know.
Okay.
Wow.
I don't know your moms.
Rebus, are you looking for a place to heal you, to fix you, or is that not necessary at this point?
Sadly, I don't have much compensation on me, so I will just use my tinker tools later in a moment of respite to fix the immediate damage done to my armor.
Gotcha. All right. So I'd say you can find these services. They're provided to you. It takes you about, to get all that done, about 1.5 hours to get all of that done. Would you afterwards try to find a lift back up to deliver the burning idol? Is there any kind of unfinished business that you still want to do here in the cogs?
Well, I believe it's early in the day since we slept here, and Lara will probably be waiting for a delivery since she was very specific in the urgency. So I think we best make our way up.
I think if we're walking together in a group, I think there's a very clear like box on Rayn's back, poking through whatever satchel backpack she has, and she's going to just like, as we hear this suggestion, and maybe we're walking towards the lift, Rayn's gonna be like, "Oh, what a burden this commission was! Oh, it is completed, thank goodness. As we now leave, we're going now." And as I do this like kind of sarcastic, I want to see if our friends from the Death Gates Guild are maybe around.
Give me a perception
Rebus
check.
leans over to Rayn and says, "Miss Rayn, I do not think that is wise of you to advertise our coming back, since people might be interested in stealing whatever we're carrying."
Total of 2.
2. You deliver you deliver an excellent performance. You do you bring this convincing performance of, oh, woe is us, or like we're done with the job here. We got what we needed. But maybe you're a little bit too caught up in your performance to really find anyone. You do see that there's certainly some people turn their heads towards you as you put on that show. And you see also then Rebus coming up to you. Miss Rayn, do you think it's wise to do that? But you don't spot anyone from your rivals. You do, all of you would notice that as Rayn does that, you see this, you see this bugbear who has a bit of a white brimmed hat on, like a cowboy hat almost, which has dents and holes in it, and he's like looks up from underneath his hat, and he has this very long duster coat on, this very long coat with all kinds of trinkets dangling from it. And he sees you, Rayn, put on this show, and you hear him like laughing as this cigar is just in his mouth. He goes, well, you sure you want to yell that out that loud?
I'm looking over to that guy. If you try anything, you will not make it out alive.
Whoa.
Just to the point, you know.
Whoa, them be finding words. I gotta respect that. No, I'm not gonna try anything. No worries. And he takes the cigar out. Just making sure that everything goes by nicely. We heard there was some ruckus going on. You know, with some troubles, like some kind of people from the upper levels fighting out their battles down here. Like some kind of rival adventuring guilds or something. You don't happen to know anything about that, now do you?
Curious, and how oddly specific.
The oddly specific is what I specialize in, ma'am.
As he's saying this, can I catch that that he clearly knows something? That he's like fishing as well? Because Rayn is clearly fishing. Am I seeing him fish back?
You know, this guy is an open book. Give me an insight check with advantage.
Yay!
Inside check.
Dirty 20.
Dirty 20. Oh, he's fishing. Yeah, he has that line out with the hook on it, and he's just waiting for the sinker. It's, he's fishing hard.
I heard they are going quite frequently to the Troll's nose. Maybe you should check there.
See, that's a funny thing, ma'am. I'm actually one of, kind of like the regulars at the Troll's Nose, and that's where I picked up this news, and I got a bit curious.
I don't know who they are.
Rayn, was there anything you wanted to do?
If I obviously catch him fishing, I'm just going to kind of continue in this loud voice. Oh, but surely no one is going to take advantage of tiny wayfish vulnerable me.
You see the bugbear now looking at you, and he's also like looking around, trying to look whatever you're looking for.
I slightly push Rayn like, okay, we're going.
As I get
Well,
pushed along.
I'm not gonna hinder you any longer. Enjoy your day, and take care of yourself. And he like puts his cigar back in his mouth, puts his hands in his duster coat, and he just moseys away, like just really like white-legged, walks away.
That went beautifully.
You
Just top notch, just elegance, just swift.
You continue to find a lift back up to the higher levels of Sharn?
Yep.
All right. Well, you kind of kept track of where you went when you came down with the lift, and you find the lift that got you down here. And as you approach the entrance to the lift, you see that it's currently on its way down. And exactly. And as it's on its way down, you come into the alley that leads to the elevator. And as you approach it, the gates open, and you see again Shilal, the goblin, who at the lift attendant. She lets out a few individuals as she speaks with her permanent grin on her face. Well, thank you for the ride. Enjoy your stay in the cogs. And the people that came down on the lift walk by you as you approach the open elevator. Welcome, welcome. Looking for a ride back up?
No, we are just enjoying the view.
Really, Delphine, what is it you are exactly looking at?
I'm confused. Weren't we going back up? Did you need to do something else, Delphine?
Dythun puts his hand in front of his face.
Oh. Let's go.
I am still confused.
Let's go.
I am just looking at Delphine with like one leg kind of like going to the elevator, but not really, because apparently we're not going to the elevator now.
Delphine, are you done? I wish to leave this awful wretched place.
I pushed them both into the elevator.
Dythun follows, and eventually the goblin also gets in, closes the elevator, pulls some levers, and with rattling and shaking, the elevator now starts moving upwards. And Going up takes a bit longer than going down, but it is still going upwards. You notice how slowly you move away from the thick, smelly air of the cogs, the smell of sweat and steel and fire and coal is slowly replaced by first a semblance of fresh air that comes in through the openings in the elevator. The temperature drops, becomes more pleasant, and before you know it, you actually inhale. As far as there is fresh air in Sharn, you inhale fresh air at this point. And
You can see a bit of steam like released from Rebus's like different crevices from like all the hot piping and tubes and stuff that had been at such a high temperature for so long. For a moment you might be scared that I am going into battle mode again, but no, nothing changes.
I think if Rebus's plates are shifting, Rayn is just going to kind of stand in between. This pretty cramped lift, or is it spacious?
well, all of you do have space here, but with all of you in here, like, it's not like you could freely dance around or something, but you're also not shoulder to shoulder. There's some space between you, but with all of you here, it still gets pretty crowded.
I'd like to point out my plates don't actually shift, just steam releases from like the change in temperature.
Okay.
I'm not shifting anything, so there's no visual change.
Okay. But Rayn sees Rebus's body do something. She's going to just kind of like look to Delphine, look between Rebus, and just like stand in between the two.
Oh, my apologies, Miss Rayn. I did not intend to scare you or put you on guard. I was just releasing some steam from the high temperatures down below. I hope that's okay. I can't really control it. It's just a mechanism to keep my body functioning.
And what can you control?
Well, up to a certain level, most of my different mechanisms require some kind of conscious control.
And the mechanism to hold a glaive at the body of our friend on the floor?
I'm just standing on the side raising an eyebrow like, what's going on?
You can see my face glitch for a moment as I freeze, as if I'm thinking, you're right, and I should apologize for that. Ms. Delphine, I am very sorry. I almost attacked you as you were lying on the floor. The combat was over, but my protocol seems to not be in the most proper working order. It is not faulty by any means, but it might not be 100% accurate, so it took a bit longer than expected to revert back to a non-offensive state of mind. And for that I apologize. I should have never raised my weapon towards you.
I'm actually not sure what you're talking about. So I guess it's okay.
You were unconscious on the floor, so no, probably your memory didn't register that instant, but Rayn saw it, and I feel she must have gotten very scared for your life, so I apologize to you too, Miss Rayn. It was really not my intention. You can see him visibly nervous, to the point of like what a warforged might look like being nervous. Like my mechanisms are a bit more twitchy than usual. instead of the more elegant, controlled kind of movement.
Now, I can appreciate that there are differences in how we conduct ourselves, express ourselves. And what you are saying that this behavior is not intentional but normal.
Well, sadly do not have a big enough data set to consider if it's normal or not. I hadn't done that before. Fighting, that is.
Normal is just so subjective and strange.
Well, in the sense of something that has happened multiple times throughout a period of several days might be considered normal or the usual or something to be expected. But since this was my first time ever engaging in a battle with an aggressive manner, I cannot predict if it will happen again next time.
At this point, Rayn is kind of looking intently at Rebus, and Rebus is going to feel that the telepathic connection, and Rayn's just going to ask, "Do you consider this normal?" Like you hear it in their head.
I'll answer telepathically. Well, again, according to the dataset that I have currently, you are the only person I have encountered who is able to establish this kind of communication. But then again, I haven't had the chance to have a conversation with that many subjects in my short life. So I still do not have enough data to give you an answer.
I will answer for you then. This is absolutely not normal. I was considered a freak, an outcast for doing this.
Yeah. Did that make you feel any negative emotions?
If I do, then I admit they have power me over now, and that is something I wish to cast off.
See, I'm very sorry that you have suffered for such an interesting gift, but hopefully you won't have to any longer.
But we can, and I'll switch to out loud now, just to because I think Delphine and Dyson are also in close quarters, and it's just like awkward silence at this point. All right, then we agree that normal is strange. Normal takes adjusting, and so long as normal doesn't result in the end, no one getting hurt, we'll see how we approach things. No one got hurt this time.
Indeed.
And as you say that,
I
Rayn,
will certainly try and provoke this protocol in me, if that is possible, outside of battle. So I might learn the ins and outs and any dangerous parts of it, and it make us all safer in battle.
and as you say that, the elevator again comes to a halt, screeching halt for a moment. It shakes again, and you hear Sheila go, "Ah, crap!" She pulls against some levers and turns some gears. It takes about 30-40 seconds before the elevator shudders again and continues its way further upward. And slowly you do notice at this point that coming in through the openings in the elevator, you see daylight coming in. Actual, real daylight that casts shadows inside of your elevator cage. You can hear from outside, seeping in through the openings, you can hear the sounds of the city above. As the elevator rattles further upwards, you can hear sounds of people that walk by the elevator shaft. You can hear the sounds of the flying vehicles that soar through the sky of Sharn. And eventually, at the end of your elevator ride, ka-dunk, the elevator stops, the gates of it open, and you're again at the point where you were when you went down 1 day ago. Shilal steps out of the elevator. Well, final destination. Thank you for riding with this elevator, and enjoy your day.
Thank you. We will try. Thanks for the ride.
Oh, thank you for the interesting conversation I was allowed to listen in with. Oh, no worries. Don't worry. I'm not the kind of, I'm not a gossip. I treasure these things.
Oh, very kind. And I will step out with the effort.
Fresh air. Fresh air.
You're actually very close to, like, an edge of one of these walkways here, and there's a gust that rolls over your face as you come out, and you smell, I wouldn't say entirely fresh air. It still has a lot of the smells that a city has in it, but it's way better than what you experienced the past day down in the Cogs. It's fresh, it's cool.
Like getting out of the subway and into like the normal city.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Now, Yeah, sorry?
Totally relieved about that little blow of air that comes towards us.
Exactly. From here, you're back in the district known as Upper Dura, and from here it's not far back to the Clifftop Adventurers Guild. Rayn, you were the one carrying the box, right?
Yes, and instead of saying anything out loud, I'm just going to walk in a way that overtly, like Rayn lives to see heads turn to her, but she's also kind of like, the purpose of her doing this is to like, if you want me, come and get me, please. Like, can we not like have this drawn out thing? Here I am, just get it over with. At the same time, just like looking around. Oh, my shoulders are so tense. This box is so heavy. Oh, we're almost there. Anyone I see?
Can you give me one more perception check, please?
I'm walking
also-
behind her, like...
also- Just because you're also walking with her, Delphine, Rebus, can you also give me a perception check, please?
Okay. This is good.
Just to see what the two of you would catch while Rayn is doing her thing. That's a 2 from Rayn.
Here, fishy, 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 fishy. Here, fishy, fishy, fishy.
18 from me and 15 for Rebus.
18 and 15 for Rebus. Okay. So,
Perfect.
Rayn, you again put on a good show, and you do turn heads. As you and your companions make your way towards the Clifftop Adventurers Guild, you do notice people noticing you. There's some people, you see this group of... You think there might be, like, students? You know that Sharn has a university, and you've seen before that sometimes the freshmen of the university hang around in this part of the city, and they look at you while you're behaving so strange, and one of them winks at you. He's too shy to respond to that. You come by these duo of merchants who are currently busy starting their hovering vehicle, but they stop as you walk by. So you're kind of caught up in how many people look at you, so you don't really perceive anything beyond that. Rebus and Delphine, on the other hand,
Thank God.
While Rayn is putting on such a show, and really, I mean, you as a group here already catch a lot of attention, and Rayn is adding more attention to that. Rebus and Delphine, you notice that as you walk through an alley and you come up to a fairly narrow staircase that leads up to the alley. You know that this is a bit of a shortcut to get to the Clifftop Adventurers Guild. You see on the rooftops above you, you see a small figure climbing from rooftop to rooftop. Looks very similar to that halfling from the Deathgate Adventurers Guild.
Rebus.
I'll lean over to Delphine just to confirm. Did you see that figure in the roof? Miss Delphine? We should be alert, or we might lose the idol just 100 meters from the destination. I will turn to Delphine and just into Rayn and let them know to keep walking, but people might be looking at us.
I will leave a little bit behind and keeping an eye on the figure.
Gotcha. All right. Delphine, you go to the back of the group. You're lagging a little bit behind, while Rayn, you're keeping up your look at me facade.
It's like there's a RuPaul soundtrack playing in her mind.
Perfect. And you keep an eye on all the people out there. You walk up the staircase, which is like one of these narrow staircases that you see in these old European cities, in the older parts where it's fairly steep. You make your way up there, and Delphine, as you're lagging behind the rest of the group, you do notice you keep a sharp eye on the halfling that's climbing on the rooftops, and you notice at one point that the halfling stops on one roof, looks down towards the group, and then disappears on the other side of the roofs, out of your view. You keep a bit of an eye on it, see if the halfling returns, but no further sign of the halfling.
Okay. Can I take a look around behind me?
Sure. You look around, except for your party members and a few interested people that came down the staircase from the other side who are still keeping an eye on Rayn. There's no one else here.
Okay. And I will follow my group.
Gotcha.
And I will let Rayn know. Miss Rayn, I think your overtly open and extroverted facade might have not even been necessary. We are being followed by the rival adventuring group that we encountered going to the Kenneth conclave.
Ah, well, that was the whole point of the exercise. It's a shame they're not coming in to say hello so we can finish the score.
I am not sure if I would recommend that. We are all some more than others. Look at Delphine a little bit with a bit of remorse on my body movement. We're not at 100% of our abilities right now. I am not sure if I would like to instigate a battle.
On the rooftop, you said, what, right?
Yes, but it is only logical to assume that the rest of them might be somewhere around us.
DM, as we're walking forward, you said up this flight of stairs. Is there flanking? Is there still roof cover or kind of an alley above the path we are taking?
There's like some parts of the roof and the shingles sticking out to like come over the alley. So yeah, you have a little bit of cover that you would be walking under, but there's also like gaps in that. So there's still some open sky above you, but some of the rooftops are extending out a little bit, so you have some cover.
If I look back at Delphine, I'm going to just talk to her in her mind and be like, come closer. I'm going to give us a bit of cover. I don't want to lose you. So instead of shouting out, I just like make this link with her mind. And does Delphine approach, or does she stay a bit of the distance?
She will keep a distance, and you will hear, as I think the
It's two-way.
communication is still going, like, don't worry about me. I prefer to keep an eye on you from here.
Then keep your eye indeed on me. And at that point, DM, what I want to do is I want to cast Fog Cloud in the space above us. So there's a heavy cloud kind of over our head. This is a 120-foot range of heavily obscured fog of cloud that stays there for up to an hour until there's like a heavy, great speed of wind that disperses it.
Gotcha. And
So
as you
take
tell
that spell slot off.
As you tell Delphine to keep an eye on you, you summon this cloud of fog that gathers over the alley, over your group, and you are now under this gray blanket of fog that dangles
Like if Rebus
over
is the top of, if Rebus is the tallest of us, their head would be like just at the top, just at the periphery of that cloud cover.
Nice.
Like the top of their head is going through like a marshmallow or a cotton puff or something. But like it's this low, but that thick.
Yeah, it is thick and it is low and it covers you like a blanket.
And as we're walking by, I'll call out, another time then. And I'll just walk with more purpose, basically to our destination.
Yeah. And the destination is indeed not too far anymore, and it would have been quite sad if just a few yards or meters away from your destination there might have been some kind of attack by your rivals, but you make it safely to the Clifftop Adventurers Guild. The massive multi-level building here in Upper Dura that is already on the outside, decorated with statues of great monsters that the members, longtime members of the Adventurers Guild, like to tell that they fought these kind of monsters, like large owl bears and these four-headed trolls and creatures like that. Entering the guild hall of the Clifftop Adventurers Guild is also this open space with tables and chairs, multiple hearth fires to gather around, have drinks, talk, and plan whatever kind of next mission the adventurers who are members of the Clifftop Adventurers Guild want to go on to. As members of the Adventurers Guild, as you have been authorized as such, you have free entrance to it. And at the entrance, there's this dwarf sitting at the entrance. He has he does not have a full beard. He has like these sideburns, but the sideburns are really long and filled with gray streaks. The top of his head is completely shaven bald, and he has over his scalp, over the top of his head, he has this massive tattoo covering most of his head. And he just nods at you. He saw your faces when you came here the last time. He lets you enter. And you see there's a few other people here. The Clifftop Adventurers Guild is a very colorful collection of individuals who work for this guild. And you see some of these groups, these sitting together at some of the fires, having a few drinks. And as you look around the hall, the walls also decorated with tapestries and animal heads, and there's these Everlight lanterns floating through the air for extra illumination to bask the room in a bit more warmer light. You see that walking from one table to the other, you see Guild Handler Lara in her complete black outfit, eye patch over one eye, and her thick white grayish hair that goes all the way down her back, tied in a long tail. And she has in one of her clawed hands, her clawed shifter hands, she has a mug of ale as she's walking from one table to another, probably talking to some of the other members of the guild.
I will wait for Delphine or Rayn to announce the delivery, since they are usually the more diplomatic and outspoken ones.
Says the most diplomatic person in the group.
Seriously. That's rich. I love the dynamic.
Mm.
Yeah.
You want to catch her attention, Rayn?
Rayn goes the ahem out loud, but if there's no reaction from Lara, Lara's going to hear the ahem reverberate a bit loudly in her head.
Lara stops, which was about to take a sip from her mug that she has, and then she stops, looks over, smiles, and walks over to the lot of you.
You got mail.
She looks at the four of you. Well, and she sees there's still like some of you might have a bit of. I mean, Delphine, if you got treated after the fight, you have some of the bandages still on you. Some of your coat is damaged. Rebus, I would say that there's also some damage to your plating. She looks at all of you who are still a little bit roughed up from the fight. She says,
There's still like pieces of lava, like that rock that is just like attached to the steel and the
Yeah.
wood, because it couldn't come up, because you need to like,
he needs to work it way,
you know, use it. Yeah.
And she looks at you. Well, I see that the Cogs have treated you to its hospitality.
Yeah, it was absolutely wonderful.
Just as wonderful as the time you told us to jump off a building.
I do bring you into the most interesting adventures, do I not?
That's a way of saying it.
But
So far, I would say yes. But there's only been a sample of one.
that is empirical, very true. I do, however, and she looks at your back, Rayn, where there's like this little bit of a bulge of the box in your backpack. Is that what I think it is?
Oh, I love this game.
And she looks at you like one of her eyes covered with the eye patch. And she just meets your
She's
gaze.
never getting the package, man.
And she then, with a smile, says, "Let's go to my office. Follow me." And she just...
What a mind reader this one is.
She strides away from you and leads the way into one of the hallways, up a staircase to her private office, which is, you do know, as a guild handler, she has a bit of a rank in the organization. She manages some of the parties that work here, but her office is small but cozy. She has a smaller desk, a nice chair behind that, but she has her own fire here as well. And along one wall, covering one entire wall, is just this large bookshelf. But there's not many books in there. There are books and scrolls in there, but there's also all kinds of knickknacks in there. Like, you see these baubles and trinkets, little collector's items. Some of them are... One of the things looks like some kind of foggy crystal ball. There's a little wooden statue there. There's a entire box of different scrolls in the bookshelf. A wild collection of knickknacks. And as you enter, Lara just strides towards her chair, sits down in a chair, puts her feet on her desk, and leans back in her chair. Close the door behind you.
I close it.
Thank you. Well, Do you have what I sent you down for?
Rayn, being the small package she is going to very easily just lift the box out of her behind her back from her back. Like this was absolutely not the heavy burden and show that she put it up to be, but like it's very deft with like just like, and whips it out and just like very slowly and dramatically places on the desk, like longer than necessary.
Laura leans forward.
I will step forward and say it before she can like touch it or anything. Please handle with care. Don't drop it. Don't shake it. Don't get it close to fire. Thank you.
Thank you. And she like carefully opens the lid of the box, and you can see now from the inside the glow of the statue coming. Huh. Smaller than I had expected. And then she closes the lid. Did you run into any trouble? Did good old Drummond give you some kind of tall story about why it took longer for him to complete this?
Who's Drummond again?
Mr. Drummond is not in charge of the forge anymore, but we got it delivered in due time from a much more capable forger specialist.
Interesting.
Next time you might want to contact Tresca.
T-speak.
Tresca is running the show? Well, that was a...
Quite effectively.
Yes, ergo, Drummond is nobody.
It was about time that Tresca made her move. Huh, interesting. Well, I think that completes your first mission for the Clifftop Adventurers Guild.
Not yet.
The matter of payment, of course. Of course. If you work for the Adventurers Guild, you get paid fairly. I think I promised you 100 gold pieces each.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Before I hand these over, can I rely on you for a potential future job? One that requires people who can deal with these kind of missions. And she looks at the box.
I think our price went up a bit, though.
She opens she in her desk she has these God, what's the word again? Drawers. Yes, drawers. She opens it. She pulls open a drawer and she pulls out these little satchels, clinking with coins in them, and she moves one satchel over to each of you. There's actually 110 gold pieces in each of them. Just a little extra. I just hope that with that little bonus, I can, in a few days, weeks, reach out to you for another job. Still need to plan it out a little bit. But I think you're the right people for that.
Party members.
I am just waiting for... Yeah, I'm just waiting for Delphine or Rayn or Delphine to...
I hope it's not another delivery mission.
Oh, no. I don't think it will be. In fact, and she looks specifically at you, Delphine, it might offer something that your family would be interested in.
Oh.
Oh, I don't want to tell too much yet. I need to hammer out the details, but there's potential here. There's potential here. But for now, and she looks at all of you, please enjoy our facilities, relax, drink, and she looks at the damaged clothing. If you need a tailor, I have a few good addresses in the city to get you fixed up as well. Enjoy what Sharn has you to offer for now.
That's very kind, thank you. One is glad to be of service.
And she just leans back in a chair, puts her hands behind her head again. Anything else I can help you with?
Regardless of what our next mission will be, if you happen to know that the Deathgate Guild is any competitors, I'm not saying don't do it, but I'd like a heads up.
Did they give you any trouble?
They failed to.
That is accurate.
I'm glad you dealt with them. Look, most of the rivalry we have with the Deathgate is a professional rivalry. Like, we're two different kind of adventurers guild. We have competition over similar jobs and everything. But just let me know when they get too aggressive in their competition.
They felt that the slight was personal enough that they seemed to jump for an opportunity to take some ill-advised coin from the dusk. But again, they failed.
Can all of you give me an insight check at this point?
Dropping those names. Oh my god, I cannot roll.
It's an 8 from Rebus. That's a 10 from Rayn.
3.
3. Rayn, as you drop that name, you just see, for a moment, you see Lara just frown as you mentioned that they did something for the dusk. And then she relaxes again. Well, some people make poor choices, I guess. I just don't want any of my people caught up in the bad choices of their people.
Let's consider it next time hazard pay then.
I'll keep that in mind.
If you excuse me, I would very much appreciate a quiet room with a good light source where I can fix myself properly, if that's possible.
She gives you directions for a workshop, one of the workshops that the guild has access to, that you could go to. All right. Well, once again, good job. And you'll be hearing from me. I'll know where to find you.
Bye.
Sure.
Come,
And-
Delphine. I will help you change your bandages.
But they were just applied.
I insist.
I insist. Do not take this away from me.
You go out of the room, out of the office, and close the door behind you as you also close this chapter of the adventure. You make your way out back into the guild hall as we, however, have the camera linger for a moment in Guild Handler Lara's room. As she notices once the door closes, she sits up straight in her chair, looks at her desk. We see her from the side, seated. And then suddenly we see behind her chair the silhouette of another figure, slightly hunched over, leaning on a cane. An old male voice says, "That is the first of them." And then Lara says, "I hope you know what you're doing." And then the male figure says again, "We will soon find out." And that's where we're going to end today's session and end this chapter of the adventure. Congratulations.
Bro, what the fuck?
And we have no clue.
We have some time left. Let's go back in the room. Smash it down.
Hey, what? Now that you mention it, go back into the room and...
Actually, Rayn has still the connection with Lara, like telepathic connection. So she never closed it, so you know.
Oh shit.
Well, congratulations, you finished the first chapter of Convergence Manifesto, the first chapter, Fired and Forgotten. You delivered the Burning Idol. You
The first of them, like when the person said the first of them, I know our characters don't know because like you know we weren't in the room, but like was the person referring like looking at the idol or like referring to one of us?
I would say your characters wouldn't notice, but the person would just say this is the first of them. You don't know where they
Probably
looked
the
at.
idol. Probably the idol.
But what if it's not?
So
What if it's not?
sorry, not sorry.
I guess everyone else watching has to also find out when we play next.
Exactly. This is just the beginning. And actually, as you wrap up this chapter, your characters level up to level 3.
Let's go.
Pressing the button.
So
Does something interesting happen at level 3? Do we get our hit points back?
I would say by the start of the
gonna
next
long
adventure,
rest.
all of you would have all your hit points back. And I actually gonna send all of you a bit of information how much time passes in between this chapter and the next chapter, so that if you want to do anything in between that, you can also do that. So there's some time there. But
We take the average on hit points.
yes, take the average on hit points, exactly. But
Nice.
since this was the wrap up of this chapter, where on this channel we like to take a week break between chapters of our adventures. So that means that next week we will not be back. We're going to take a little break then. But the week after that, which is the week of which is 7 December, we would be back for the next session then of the next chapter of the adventure.
Gotcha.
Perfect. 7th of December, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then from
Do
there,
it.
somewhat regular until I guess we'll take a break for whatever holidays, but we'll announce that in advance.
Well, exactly. And if you want to keep a track of that on any announcements, follow us on our socials. You can join us on our Discord. You can follow us here on Twitch. You can even subscribe here on Twitch if you're awfully kind. And that's almost it. Before we leave for tonight, anything anyone wants to plug, wants to promote, anything going on in the coming week?
I'm just happy that like now I get to choose a primal path. It's gonna be very exciting.
I mean, finally an oath, so...
Exactly. Yeah, the subclass
Power!
choices.
I would like to plug, let's see, none of my projects have released yet, so none of those, except for obviously the 6 volumes of Not Another Monster Quest are still being released. So if you go to DM's Guild and look for level 1 or 2 of Not Just Another Monster Quest, or Not Another Monster Quest, you should find them. And there's some of my art in them, and they're really cool, and they're full of really awesome adventures and NPCs and stuff. And then come over to my streams. I stream art it's fun, you know. And if you want me to draw your character, my commissions are open for December and January. So like to have things ready in December and January. So if you feel you want to gift somebody else a fun art commission of a D&D character or any other character, contact me and we can see if how we make that happen. It would be really fun. So yeah.
Absolutely. Cool. Anything else from anyone else? Alrighty.
Not at the moment.
Wishing anyone who celebrates Thanksgiving to have a wonderful, safe time. It's not about the dry green bean casserole. It's not about the delicious stuffing. It's about and it's not about the stupid story you learn in American basic school, primary school, but it's about really taking stock of the good things you have, being grateful for whatever capacity you can enjoy them in, and preparing to not hate yourself for overeating. So happy Thanksgiving to anyone who celebrates. Happy Native American month that is now being observed, who have a very important role, especially as we talk about Thanksgiving and the role Indigenous people played in the unfortunate storytelling of that.
True, very true. Thank you very much for pointing that out, Ida. All right, then. Thanks, everyone, for tonight. Thanks to the players for hanging in here. You're very welcome. Thanks for everyone who hung out in chat and watched along. And I wish all of you a great evening. Take care, love each other, and we see you then in 2 weeks here. Bye-bye.